You're listening to WCAT Radio, your home for authentic Catholic programming.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Cynthia Toolin-Wilson, and I'm here with Father Lawrence Tucker from the Society of Our Lady of the Most Holy Trinity. And he's going to talk to us about another book. This will be his fourth interview, and it's entitled New Song, the Main Part. How are you, Father?
Well, I'm doing fine, Dr. Toolin. All is well. Just one little clarification. It's actually, I guess it did sound like a book, but it's a song. I have an album out, and the new song, it's actually a new song. It's not a book. It's a new song called The Main Part. That's surprise.
That's really funny, but still interesting.
It would actually be a good name for a book, but it's a single. After doing the album with 10 songs on it, we decided that we didn't want to go for another album in the sense of a CD, because I don't know if you've noticed it, but many people have, that CDs are becoming more and more obsolete.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. They're not even, most of the cars, and I really do mean most of them, only a small minority of cars are being made anymore with CD players. It's
yeah.
You know what I mean? So all these various devices that you just play through your car system, and the device is mobile, whether it's your phone or whatever. And so we didn't want to get into the whole CD thing because, as I said, they're really going obsolete. So we're releasing singles, and this is the first single that we've released. It's called The Main Part. Mm-hmm. And the group is called Brother Sister. We took the title from, we took our cues really for the title from the Pope Francis time as Pope. We're, looking at his documents, the Evangelii Gaudium, Laudato Si, and then and more to the point would be Fratelli Tutti, where Francis has always been speaking about the importance of and the beauty of fraternity, a big part of Franciscan spirituality, and really a big part of our Catholic and Christian spirituality. And so we would just move to name the group Brother Sister. And so that's the name of the group. It's me. I'm the songwriter, and then we have Deirdre Broderick, who is a well-known pianist, bass player, songwriter, musician. She does keyboards. She's an incredible singer, and she has done her own music, which is on the internet at her website, and she also has done movie scores and also Broadway plays and musical events in Manhattan. She's done the music for them. And then there's David Spinoza, who's a legendary guitarist, one of the best guitarists alive. And he also has his own jazz albums out, and he recorded with some of the biggest names in pop music, with the Beatles. He recorded with John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr. He recorded with John Denver, B.B. King, Aretha Franklin, Rod Stewart, Barry Manilow, Paul Simon, James Taylor, Carly Simon, on and on and on. So he does the guitars in the music. And then there's Frank Dickinson, who's a well-known percussionist, and he has his own studio, and he does mastering for various musical recordings and stuff, and he's also an expert in the music industry. So between the four of us, we're Brother Sister, and we're producing music that we hope will be really music for the new evangelization, for the times we're living in. We like to think of it as a unique combination of contemplative depth and missionary spunk. So that's and so the latest in our music, the latest composition is called The Main Part, and it's on the Brother Sister website.
Okay. That is interesting. I didn't realize that you were also a musician. That's impressive.
Oh, well, thank you, Dr. Toolin. Yeah, it's something I've been doing ever since I was a little boy, since I started playing guitar when I was around 10.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole story of my musical past and present is on the website. But, you know, one of the things that is kind of interesting in my own situation, Dr. Toolin, was that during high school, of course, I was still playing guitar, but up until high school, I was playing by ear. I never studied music and took guitar lessons, but I was playing. I had a classical nylon string guitar that I loved, and I was playing it. But when I was in high school, I started to take music lessons in terms of really not so much guitar lessons specifically, but music lessons in terms of learning to write music, and I did. During high school, I knew how to read and write music, and I did read and I did write some music. But after high school, as I started moving towards the priesthood, I went to college, as everyone priest has to go to college. So I was in college and stuff, but I kind of fell away from music. I just sort of left it in the background of my life because I was focusing on other things. And so it wasn't until I was around 50 years old. I'm 65 now, but when I was 50 years old, I started playing guitar again. I got a guitar. Someone gave me a guitar. And so for that whole length of time, from, say, like around college age until I was around 50 years old, and a seasoned missionary priest, having started missions, having served in missions in developing nations and such, having learned Spanish and on ministry in Spanish. Mm-hmm. All that time, which was, like 30 years at least, I didn't read music and I didn't write music, and I very rarely even played guitar. Only, if I was in a parish where there was a guitar, I might pick it up and play it a little bit, or if I was at someone's house where there was a guitar. But I didn't own a guitar. And so net result, Toolin, was that when I started playing again, I had completely forgotten how to read and write music. I mean, gone completely. Mm-hmm. And so I started writing songs, but I wasn't able to write the lead sheet, the musical lead sheet for it that other musicians could work from. And so by God's providence, I was doing a mission appeal in rural Connecticut, and the person, the choir mistress, mm-hmm. was a young woman by the name of Deirdre Broderick, who was a professional musician and at the top of her trade in the music industry. So I met her, and I asked her if I sent her the music, if I did a little recording of the music of me playing the song and wrote out the lyrics with the chords and stuff and sent it to her, would she write up the lead sheets for me? And she said that she'd be happy to do that. And so, so it was wonderful. So she actually, all of my songs, she wrote the music, or the lead sheets. I wrote the music, but I mean, she drew up the charts, as they're called in the trade, but mm-hmm. other people call them lead sheets. So she already knew the music. And so when it came time to where I was thinking to record this music, she had mentioned along the way that she had a professional studio in her home in rural mm-hmm. Connecticut. And her home, by the way, just as a little aside, is just down the street from where Meryl Streep lives.
Oh.
And in fact, Meryl Streep lives in that little corner of Connecticut, which is very much near the Berkshires. In fact, it might actually be the bottom end of the Berkshires. Mm-hmm. It's a very nice place to live, and a lot of people who do work in Hollywood or in the entertainment business in New York City, they will choose to live there. Mm-hmm. Being one of them, Meryl Streep being another, and I'm sure there's countless others. But anyway, so she mentioned that she had a studio, so I asked her if she would want to get into recording these songs. Mm-hmm. And so she did. And so we formed this little band because she's a dynamic Catholic herself. Mm-hmm. And the latest song, the single called The Main Part, the picture, mm-hmm. when you release a single on a website, you want, just like, if you have an album, you want some sort of an attractive picture or painting or photo or whatever for the album cover. Well, when you release a single, you want the same thing for the single. And so the beautiful picture on the website of the single that represents the single, the beautiful picture of this like sort of beautiful little mountains with sort of fall foliage colors and a little lake, that picture is what you would see out of Meryl Streep's living room. That's
wow.
They call it Meryl Streep's lake. I don't really know if it's her lake, but I mean it's right there. So
wow,
that's just an aside. It's just, but it's a very
it's nice.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's a very beautiful, very contemplative, peaceful, placid, serene image, and Deirdre actually chose it, and I confirmed it, that it really speaks to the message of the song, because the song, the main part, is about how God in our life is the main part, but He's not just the main part of our life, He's the main part within us. In other words, God in our life is the main part because He actually dwells within us, and He's the very foundation of our being, of our interior life, and so that's what the song is addressing, Dr. Toolin.
That's and He's actually the center of our existence. Without Him, we wouldn't even be. So that's pretty profound. So I'm looking at the internet here, trying to find your website. It's
brothersister.net.
.net. Okay, and it's one word for brother sister, right?
One continuous word, brother sister, lower denomination, as it were, brothersister.net, and you'll see this picture for the album that comes up, and then you just scroll down a little bit, and you have all your options, music. But if you just scroll down, you'll see, you don't have to go anywhere, you just scroll down and you'll see the new single, the main part. So the idea of the song was that if you look around, and of course as you as a theology professor, myself as a missionary priest, we're trying to observe what's going on in the world around us, in our society, in our culture, with regard to the values of faith and spiritual life and such. And one of the things I've observed, and many others have observed as well, is that people, for many years now, but probably for the whole of history, but I'm just saying in our society in particular, there's really been a sea change in this perspective, in this where people tend to be looking for God, or seem to be looking for God, but in all the wrong places.
Yes.
Right? Isn't this something that is observable, where people think that if they have a lot of things, materialism, if they have the best and the most current with regard to whatever it is, a house, a car, technology, if they have the best things and a lot of things and every comfort and convenience that you can afford to get your hands on, if you have all of these things, then that's where you're going to find a replacement for God, or if they take the hedonist route, usually they take both routes, materialism and hedonism, or if they take the hedonist route, if you have as much pleasure as possible, all the gourmet foods, if you belong to the best gym, if you have all the best of, the things that bring us pleasure, and maybe that would be, sensual pleasures of whatever sort, maybe drugs, maybe very expensive vacations that pamper you to the max, even just your home and the things that you do that pamper you in every regard. The toys that people have nowadays are so expensive, four-wheelers, just whatever. And so you go this hedonist route where it's all about pleasure and it's all about avoiding any type of inconvenience or any type of, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can say it on the air, any type of pain or suffering. That's, taboo. You just have to stay away from that. And so So they go that route, thinking that, oh, that'll be a great replacement for this whole God thing, That'll fill up my life. All the material things, all the pleasures, with all of those things, who needs God? I've got everything a person could possibly need. And then what happens? They find out that they become enslaved to those things, and they begin to lose their freedom. They begin to lose a sense of dignity, a sense of identity, a sense of who they actually are within, and they become sad. Very often they become actually depressed, and sometimes very seriously depressed, even suicidal, because everything that they thought would bring them happiness, the happiness that would replace the happiness and the true happiness that God brings, money, a huge bank account. Oh, I have everything now. Oh, I've got so much money in the bank. Gosh, I don't even think I have to work anymore. Oh, gosh, life is so good to me. After they have all of those things, they realize that actually they don't have anything, because the main thing, as we say in my song, the main part, they've completely left it out. They don't even know what it is anymore. They're lost. Yeah. And sometimes it's very hard for them to find their way back. And so that's what the song is addressing, is that this whole propensity to become lost and to forget that God lives within and He radiates His love within us, and that's the main part. That's the very foundation of our life.
Yes. I originally was trained as a sociologist. That's what my doctorate was in. And I have to say that there's not one thing that you said that I wouldn't agree with, even as a sociologist. Because people pursue and pursue and pursue, and it's like there's always something newer, something different, something better. So they never rest until they have so much. I mean, that's, when you look at the this new industry called storage sheds, that you rent so much for a month, and pay so much rent and store your stuff there. And, there's stories of people going in and saying, gee, I forgot I had that, or they do the same thing twice because they've forgotten. So, it's just very odd, it's...
and it's really... It's self-destructive because, you just pointed out, it becomes the chase for to fill up the vacuum that is created by the absence of God, whom we were made for. So the chase to fill the unfillable void just goes on and on and on and becomes an all-consuming, frenetic chase that is never-ending. It's almost like a curse. It's almost like something that the more you chase it, it's like a dog chasing his tail. The more you chase it, the less close, that doesn't even sound right, but the further away you get from it. The more you chase it, the further you get from it, and the more frustrated, the more despondent the soul becomes. And it creates not just frustration, it creates a kind of a low-level, seething kind of anger at life itself, where you get this almost like globalized discontent within the person. They become just basically unhappy. They lose their serenity, and they become frustrated, and it affects their relationships, all of them, and they wonder why they're not finding satisfaction, even in close friendships or even in marriage itself. Because what happens is that this void that cannot be filled, and yet this frenetic chase to fill it becomes so distracting that the person really can't focus anymore and becomes more and more superficial, and in spiritual terms, they become externalized. In other words, the interior life is just sort of wiped out. It's really it's gone. It's eviscerated, and the person becomes a very externalized personality. And when that happens, a crudeness kind of sets in, a rudeness, a crudeness the person becomes materialized and externalized, and their heart becomes hardened, and they, in their spirit and their soul, they become cold and indifferent to the suffering around them. And this is just not a good thing for society, because we depend on one another. Society is, as Aristotle pointed out, man is a social being. We depend on one another. We enjoy one another. We're basically made for one another. I mean, we know we're made essentially for God, but within that matrix of being made for God is that we love one another. We're brothers and sisters. But what happens when your heart becomes frozen and externalized and cold and hardened and indifferent? Well, you can see it. You can see it in the world around us, in society around us. You can see that it's all about me. I have to take care of myself, and you better do the same thing, because, heck, I'm not looking out for you, and I don't think anyone else is. So, it's every man for himself, just, take out, make sure you take care of yourself, and everything I have, well, that's mine. Don't ask me for anything. I remember, Dr. Toolin, I was reading, maybe 10 years ago, I was reading the autobiography of the founder of Walmart and Sam's Club. I kind of forget his name. I think it's something like Sam Walton or something like that. I just don't remember his actual name, but he's a very famous person. Everybody knows him.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a multi-billionaire. And in any case, so in this, I believe it was an autobiography. It might have been a biography, but in any case, he's quoted. The person, he's doing an interview, and the person says, at that time, he was really one of the wealthiest people in the world. Right now, I think he's fallen behind the tech billionaires, but in any case, he's still a multi-billionaire. So the question was, what are you doing with all of this wealth? What are you doing to help the less fortunate, to help the poor? Now, Dr. Toolin, you and I are very involved in the church, and hopefully our listeners are as well, but this might strike you right away as unbelievable. It did me. So he said, what am I doing for the poor? He said, I started Walmart. That's all I do for the poor. Now, can you imagine? He made billions with Walmart, but because of his avant-garde idea of offering these things at almost wholesale prices and such in a big box store, nothing like that had ever really been done on the scale that he did it. So he came up with this business model and was super successful. Yes, it did help people. The prices were lower than just about any other place. So, he did help people, but he made billions with the idea. And so when asked, what are you doing for the poor? He said, nothing. I invented Walmart. That's all I'm doing for the poor. So that's what I'm saying. That's kind of an example of what I'm speaking to, this, when you jettison God and start ingesting materialism and hedonism, you become externalized, your heart becomes cold and hardened, and you end up saying things and doing things like the founder of Walmart. He wasn't, he didn't, shy away from saying that. He believed in what he said. He really thought he did something great for the poor, and that's the end of it. That's all I have to do. I'm done, and now I'll just enjoy my fortune, and so this is the world, in a sense, that we're living in, and so that's where I was inspired to write the song that, look, let's not lose perspective altogether here. God is living within. That's what gives man his dignity, that he is beloved of God. Man is not just important. Important is kind of like, we kind of leave that behind. Man is beloved. He's so far above important. Important is my car.
Yeah.
My car is important. My house is important. But you and I, we're beloved. We belong to an eternal Father who loves us unto death. He sent Jesus to die for us and to give us his Spirit. And so we live from within, and God is living and radiating his eternal life and his eternal love within us, and that's the main part of our inner life And so I was hoping that the song at the beginning of the year, we released it right now. I wrote the song, maybe 6 weeks ago, even 2 months ago, but we released it now in the beginning of the year as a reminder to our listeners that, look, this is something you just don't want to forget. This is the highest priority. And so the song starts out with sort of a solemn little question. It's a musical statement, but it says, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned, but Deirdre Broderick from, she's the producer, she's the keyboardist, she's the bassist, and she's also the vocalist. And what a voice. Her voice is just, when you listen to the song, you're going to hear a voice that you're going to say, whoa, this gal can really sing, and so the song opens up with this little sort of statement, this little phrase, this musical phrase where Deirdre says, I have just one question lingering in my soul. Tell me, Lord, where do you live? Now, it calls to mind when Jesus was baptized, after he was baptized, and he went up onto the bank and he started walking away. 2 disciples started following him, and they said, Master, where do you live? And Jesus said, come and see. And so I was calling to mind in writing that phrase, Jesus' invitation to go within. Don't be afraid. That's where I dwell. That's where I am. Go within yourself. Don't be afraid of what's there. There's nothing there. It's not a haunted house or something like that. Yeah, I'm there. I'm the foundation of your existence, as you pointed out in the beginning, Dr. Toolin. Without God, we wouldn't even exist. And so don't be afraid to go within. That's where your peace is. Go within. You will meet me there. And I will guide you from that inner spot where we have communion. I will renew you. I will heal you. I will guide you. I will refresh you. I will teach you. I am the main part within you, and you are more than welcome there. I invite you to come and see where not just I live, but where you live. That's where we live. That's where we live from, is from that fountain of life that springs up within us. So the song opens up with that question, tell me, Lord, where do you live? So then there's this little kind of opening melody based on a D chord, and then the song explodes into the main singer, of course, that's Deirdre, and she says, whenever I try to find you. So the singer is this person who's questioning. So the singer says, whenever I try to find you, I raise my head and I search the sky above me. And then the background singers chime right in at that point with, open my eyes to see, you're living inside of me. In other words, Deirdre is playing the part of the person who's searching, but in the wrong place. You have people who search for God in ideas, like, maybe some sort of great idea or some sort of theoretical God can be the answer, And so the chorus says, open my eyes to see you're living inside of me. And so the vocalist then says, and when I'm about to give up, after searching the sky above me, after searching in ideas and theories and all these sort of ethereal things that might take the place of God, when I find there's nothing there, then when I'm about to give up, I bow my head and I search the ground below me. In other words, now I'm looking at the world around me, and I'm looking into material things and into pleasures and everything the world can offer, and I'm thinking, okay, that's going to do it. That's where I'll find the God replacement, or maybe God's even there for all we know. Maybe these sort of weird notions of God, of being in the material things. Maybe it's true. And so after looking at that level, the level, below us, the ground, as it were, the world, and then the chorus chimes in again, open my eyes to see, you're living inside of me. And then the singer says, all my life I've been wondering. And then the chorus comes in with wondering, and then the singer says, where could you be? All my life I've been wondering, where could you be? Never did I imagine that. You were so close to me and me so close to you. And then it breaks into the chorus. So the song is sort of, in a way I could say, sort of theatrical. It's showing a person who's searching and then finding and discovering in the finding that actually what's happening is they're being found by God. In God's mercy, they're actually being found.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's, who would think you could get that much theology into a song? That's wonderful.
It is kind of amazing, isn't it, how the Lord leads the musician, the songwriter's heart. That I have a lot of this, I think, Dr. Toolin, I have a lot of this built up. I've been involved in the church since I was a youngster, so to speak. I'm a cradle Catholic, but certainly in religious life and in priesthood and in missionary life and stuff, I have a lot of these spiritual thoughts and feelings and observations, just kind of there building up. And so then when I feel moved to write a song, they just kind of flow. And they flow in a very concise, sort of poetic way, which is really what you need for a song. A song is really poetry written to music, because unless you're going to write, 10 verses or something and have a very elaborate set of lyrics, you want to put a lot into a few lyrics, and because if the song is too long, now you're into something else, you're into a Broadway musical or something, so... you want a song that is going to speak to the heart and is going to make its message and get to the point in as few words as possible, because the listener doesn't want, a tome. They want something that, is going to have an impact, hopefully a positive, deep impact in a short time, and with a beautiful melody. Beautiful arrangement, which is Deirdre's part. I write the lyrics and the melody, the music, and Deirdre is the one who comes up with the interpretation and the arrangement, the musical interpretation and the arrangement. And of course, that's her forte. She's a master at that.
Yeah.
And so, that's a whole other thing, Dr. Toolin, with regard to music. There's a number of ways for a musician or composer to do music. And one way is to do it all yourself. You write the music, you write the actual musical composition, the lyrics, and then you do the arrangement and you do the recording. Someone like say John Michael Talbot would do it that way. Of course, he can do it that way. He's the singer, he's the musician, he's the songwriter, he's the recorder. He's got a studio there in Arkansas at the Little Portion Hermitage, and he can do it all himself, and that's awesome, and so that's one way to do it. Another way is the way I do it, which is I sort of consciously open the music up to other inputs from what I believe is the Spirit. I want the Spirit to have a way in to the composition. I don't want it to be just me. If I wanted to, Dr. Toolin, I could have recorded the songs. There's a studio. I live in Corpus Christi right now. I'm on the border of Mexico and Laredo, Texas, but Corpus, which is my main residence, there's a studio there that I was welcome to go to and to use, and I could have hired some studio musicians, and I could have done the arrangement, and I could have done the singing, and I could have played the guitar, and I could have got the other musicians to do percussion and keyboard. In other words, I could have done it all myself, but I didn't want to. I knew Deirdre. I met her. I know she knows some great Christian and Catholic musicians. And so I wanted to I was moved by the Spirit to open the compositions up to the Spirit by allowing others to have a hand in it. And, Dr. Toolin, what I discovered was it is so beautiful to do it that way because, and I'm so happy the Spirit guided me to do it that way, because when Deirdre will do what's called the first mix, she'll have my little recording of me playing the classical guitar during my song, and then I'll send her, in a scan the lyrics with the chords written out on top. And so she'll write the lead sheet, she'll send it to me, I'll approve of it, and then she'll do the first mix of the recording, and she'll send it to me. And she'll say, what do you think? This is my take on it, Every time, and I mean every time she has done that, immediately I notice that the Spirit just exploded in Deirdre, in her interpretation and in her arrangement. It's so beautiful, so far beyond what I was imagining. Because as a musician, I'm kind of imagining like, she'll probably do this, she'll probably do that. She'll probably do a harmony at this part. She'll probably do an echo over here. She'll probably do a lead solo over here, have David do a lead solo over here. I'm thinking in my mind what she'll probably do. Right. And then when I get the first mix, I see she did nothing of what I was thinking, and yet it's 100 times better than what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I could have never come up with that. I had to leave it open and take that risk of not going with the idea of the arrangement. Leave it open to the Spirit to work through another Christian Catholic soul that's working in the Spirit as well. And that's how you get the maximum. Like if you look at our website and you look at the review from Alagia, we had a stunning review from Alagia for the album. And I see that as the fruit of the Spirit, of inviting the Spirit and being open and taking the risk to allowing the Spirit to be involved in a maximum way.
It's interesting.
I'm so happy that we're all working with the Spirit and we're all open. And so Deirdre will say, here's the first mix. You tell me what you think. So I write back. I'll say, Deirdre, it's awesome, man. Just keep doing what you do. The Spirit's alive. He's at work. Just do it. Just continue in this vein. And so she'll go on to the second mix where maybe she'll add a little element of percussion or add a little element instead of like two people doing a background vocal. Maybe she'll have three. Whatever. And she'll send the second mix, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like awesome. Just do it. I mean, just get the master done. Just cut the thing and release it. So. Anyway, it's a lot of fun, and it's a spiritual experience, and so we're just hoping that these singles, I'm working on 3 songs right now, and working on songs is a labor of love, and it can be fun. It's always challenging, and I wouldn't say that it's really hard, but you do have to apply yourself. You have to be aware. You have to be conscious. You have to listen to the music. That's one of the reasons why I'm here at this little bungalow that a benefactor lets me use. It's just a tiny little bungalow. It's literally one room with a full bathroom. And but the bungalow is completely made out of wood, outside and inside. All the walls and this entire ceiling is made out of cedar wood. And it has 2 enormous sliding glass doors, and they're covered with a very heavy curtain. So you talk about an acoustical dream come true. Yeah. Well, this casita, we call it La Casita de San Francisco, the little house of St. Francis. It's in the backyard of the benefactor. It's here in Laredo, Texas, right on the border of Mexico. And so when I want to do any writing, whether it's a book or music, I come to La Casita de San Francisco, and especially for music, and I work on the music. I work on the chord progressions. I work on the lyrics. I work on the intros. I work on the bridges, and I listen to the music, and I listen and listen, and I work on it. I try to find what's the most beautiful, what's the most, really, what's the best composition for these lyrics, and so I work on the lyrics, and believe it or not, that takes time, Dr. Toolin. You can't. Yeah, I mean, if you just want to whip out a song, like a commercial jingle or something like that, I mean, I guess you could do that in a couple of days or something like that. But if you're working on a song that you want to move hearts, you want it to touch the spirit of your brothers and sisters, you really have to let it germinate. You have to let it gel. You almost have to let it. It has a life of its own. You have to let it emerge on its own terms, and that can take literally a couple of months.
That's what I was thinking. I was going to say months.
No, you're right, Dr. Toolin. That generally takes me usually at least 3 months to compose a song. Now, I can work on songs. I can work on a number of songs at the same time. Sometimes I have to because the inspiration for the song just comes. Sometimes you'll wake up with the chorus melody in your mind, and I just grab my guitar, I turn on my laptop, I record it so I don't forget it. And sometimes the lyrics come like that. Other times they come a little bit more slowly. But the whole thing emerges in a very beautiful, kind of serene way, but you can't really force it. You can't rush it. It has a life of its own, and you have to just let it live. You kind of have to let it be born. And then the coolest thing is when it is gelled, when it is what it is and what it was meant to be, you know it. Interiorly, you actually know it. It's like a sense you get. You're like, you don't say to yourself, "Is it done? Do I think it's done?" You just play it through and you say, "It's done.
Yeah,
it's ready." and then I record it and I send it to Deirdre. And so it's a beautiful experience. Really, it's a lot of fun too. I have to say.
Yeah, I think any creative process within the faith is going to be like that. I mean, I know even writing in my own my memoir, not autobiography, but I was writing my memoir.
Oh.
And it was like one day I just realized that's done.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
So you've had that experience as well.
Yeah, I never had anything where I woke up thinking of something, no, but I would work on it, and, every once in a while I'd be tired of working on it, and I'd stop, and when I went back, I was fresh,
Yeah.
like a month later, and, it took me a long while to write it. It's a brutal memoir, but Sebastian
I can't wait to read it. When is it going to be published, do you think?
Sebastian said it would be January, but I believe January ends in 3 days. Which is fine. I know how busy he is, but yeah, it'll be coming out. It's basically the story of learning how to forgive my mother, who had tried to chemically abort me back in 1949. So but I think. In general, if you're working within the faith, I mean, obviously, if you're just making a song for fun, or you're writing a short story for fun, that's different. But if you're actually working, trying to get something right because it is involved with the faith, or it could help people to see something in the faith, I think the process that you're describing is probably common to all of the creative work we do within the faith.
I think you're right because I've noticed what you just described in writing your memoir about sometimes you're either by circumstance or by choice you take a break from the writing and then you come back to it and you feel very fresh and you have a lot of fresh ideas. I've noticed the same thing is true with music. I've noticed the same thing in writing my books, but I've also noticed the same thing applies with music. If ministry calls and I'm taken away from the music for whether it's a few days or even a week or two, maybe I have to go into Mexico to do something, and then I don't get to the guitar or to the music. But then when I come back to it, I notice that. Yeah. He has been developing in my unconscious mind, I would imagine. It has actually been, or just being away from it is refreshing in and of itself, because new ideas and a new sense of the music, sort of is born. And so I'll come back to the music and I'll say, whoa, now I know what exactly to do with this part. I mean, it's just like right there on the tip of my mind, as it were. So, I think you're right. I think when we're working look, we're Christians, we're believers. We live in the Spirit. So that that comes into play. I mean, I'm not about to say that my song is some sort of, like scripture or something. We all know it's not that. But by the same token, we do live in the Spirit. We do welcome the Spirit to be a part of everything we do, especially the things that we do for God, the creative things. And so, I think a break from whatever it is, writing, whatever creative endeavor it is, a break is very helpful.
Yeah. And I also find that I will be trying to communicate something, and I'll think I've got it down perfect, and I'll say, okay, I'm done for today or this week or whatever, and then I go back and it's like, no, that's not right. And I mean, I'll actually have that thought, no, that's not right. Like God said, nope, not quite.
Yes.
And I'll see a different way of putting it, so.
Yeah.
Because with music and with any language, it's the same thing. It's precision.
Yes.
You've got to have precision. You've got to have exactly the right notes, the right beat. I don't know if those are what you call them. Just like I have to have the right word, the right phrasing.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
So it takes time.
Well, there's revision. I mean, even in music, there's revision. I mean, you get it to a point where you feel the major parts of the composition are there. They're in place. And so then as you start to work through it over and over again, you start to realize you need to fine-tune it, to tweak it, to fine-tune it. And so you realize that, hey, you know what? This word is good, but I think this other word is actually better. It jives better with this other phrase, or, and sometimes you'll do that with a chord. You'll say, this chord is good, but guess what? This diminished chord actually is better. It actually suits the composition better. It fits better overall, And so there are false starts. I remember starting songs that I thought was, I'll have an inspiration for a melody, maybe just, I never have the entire inspiration for the entire melody, but sometimes you'll have a very strong inspiration for, like, let's say, the chorus or the first verse of a potential song. And so, you'll work with that for a few days, and then you'll have this sense that, you know what, this is a false start. This is not a workable melody. It's just not, and you just know in your gut that you thought it was, you tried it, you fooled around with it, and it's a no-go. It's not it, And you just have that sense. And so sometimes you do have to experiment. It just doesn't come like absolutely certain every time. And so that's just part of the creative process, Yeah.
Well, I also think, though, that our creative process within the faith is kind of guided. Again, it's not like we're inspired to write scripture or something. But I know that there were false starts that I had when I was writing the memoir, and it took me a long time to figure out what the path of the memoir would be, whether or not I was going to use people's real names. I mean, and it's like over time, it's like I just knew what the right thing to do was. Now, I don't know if I want to call it inspiration or I don't think it was just the creative process.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's why I was saying as Christian creators, as people who believe and invite God into every aspect of our lives, so therefore we're basically living in the Spirit. Everything we do, I mean, in a little while I'm going to fix some dinner. Here in Laredo it's an hour different from where you are. But in a little while, an hour or two, I'm going to fix some dinner. Well, it's probably going to be a creative process, I look in the cupboard here in the casita, and I see what I have, and I say, well, I'll do a little of this. So the whole, the whole thing is going to be a creative thing. And so everything we do, is a creative thing where who knows how involved the Spirit is or isn't, It's not like there's like some sort of monitor where it's, okay, he's 60% involved in this meal, whereas yesterday it was only 10%. We just move and live, like in the liturgy. in Him we live and move and have our being, you know? Mm-hmm. So however it all works out, it works out. You know, that's the bottom line. It all works out and it's all good. Okay. And you know, like you said in your memoir, you know, sometimes you know, you're writing and you're saying, well, you know, maybe this I don't like this too much. Let me think about this. Maybe I'll change it, you know. Maybe there's a better way to start this chapter or something, you know. Mhm.
Yeah. And even what you do or do not want to include or how much of it you want to include, you know. So it's an interesting process.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Toolin, I mean, writing, you know, I remember the last book I wrote, The Redemption of San Isidro, I remember going through a lot of hoops with that, you know, and sometimes it's very challenging and very difficult because the options, you know, if, you know, the allusion I made before to like a kind of a monitor, you know, that would regulate, you know, the options and monitor like the creative process. I remember, you know, thinking, my gosh, this writing thing is so difficult because there's so many options. I could talk about this or I could talk about that. I could say it this way or I could say it that way. I could do it at this part in the chapter or I could do it in that part. There's so many options, therefore there's so many decisions that have to be made. It's amazing that anyone can write a book, period, you know?
You know, you're right.
You're just eliminating so many, and you're doing this in a nanosecond when you're writing, whether it be literature or music. You're eliminating how many options and how many different things that you could possibly say and the way you could say them. You're eliminating with every word you write, with every sentence you write, you're eliminating all these multiple options and settling in on one, and you're doing it all in a nanosecond. Just really amazing when you think about it.
It is. It is. Yeah.
And then when it's all done and you look at it and you read through it and you're like, wow, man, this is good. How did I do it? You know, and so that's the whole wonder of being creative. It's such a blessing to be creative, you know.
You're right. It is a difficult process, though, because I remember a couple of times I thought, you know, maybe I'm just not smart enough to do this.
Yes, I've been there.
It's in the garbage. Forget it.
Exactly. Well, it's true. You know, you know, it's true. Until it all comes together, you know, until it's, as I say, or you know, there's other words, but as it gels, when it comes together, and you kind of sit back and you look at it, and you're like, wow, I like it. Like it's like an artist looking at the canvas, you know, when they work hard on a production and then they, you know, get it to where they want it, and they sit back and they look at it and say, you know, it's really nice. I really like it. It's beautiful, you know. So anyway, so we're just hoping that these singles, as I said, this is the first in the singles. I have 3 in the pipeline, as it were, that I'm working on, you know. And as I said, I can work on songs at the same time. That's not a problem for me. I've done it before, and not only is that not a problem, it's something that I have to do because the songs just come when they want. And so, you know, if a song comes to me today and then like 5 days from now another song comes, well, I'm not going to reject it. I'll work on it a little bit now and then. So I'm working on these 3 songs simultaneously, and they're completely different songs. I mean, each song has its message, has its own sort of melody, its own tune. And yet, I enjoy working on them, and little by little, one of them is just about gelled. I just have to work it a little bit more, and it'll be kind of gelled. And so that song will probably come out, I don't know if it'll be out in Valentine's Day, probably more like Ash Wednesday or Easter. We have to see, and then the others after that, you know, they'll come out. So anyway, just keep tuned to the listeners. Just keep tuned to the brothersister.net website.
I will.
And, you know, every once in a while check in on it, and you'll see a new single, God willing, you know. And so I don't know what more I can say about the song. I mean, it's just, you know, well, for the listeners, you know, the chorus is, I know you're there, and then the backup singer says, or singers say, deep inside of me, and then the main vocalist says, your love to share, and then the backup singer says, open my eyes to see, and then the main vocalist, Deirdre, says, within my heart, you're the main part inside of me. So that's the chorus, you know. Yeah. I know you're there deep inside of me. Your love to share, open my eyes to see. Within my heart, you're the main part inside of me. Mm-hmm. So that's the main message of the song in the nutshell, is that, you know, just, Lord, give me the grace, give me the faith to not be afraid to look within myself and to find that there's nothing to be afraid of. There's you're there, you know, and when I find you there, I find you everywhere. You know, when I find you within, I can see you in everybody else. I can see you in your creation. I can see you in your church. I can see you everywhere, and then I can see that, you know, life is a gift. I can see my own being, my own life, as coming directly from your heart, from your love, and I understand myself completely differently, and therefore I understand everyone else differently, and it opens your heart up to be as Pope Francis said, to be more gentle, to be more tender, to be more compassionate, because you see how, whether a person knows it or not, whether a person is completely fallen away from God and is completely wrapped up in the world and is just an utter worldling, it doesn't matter. They still belong to God. They still, and you see that. They don't see it, you know, but you see it. Yeah. You see it, you know, and so you can be very loving and very compassionate with all of God's creatures, with all of His children, with creation. And so I think this is where Pope Francis is leading us, is to a deeper interior life, a deeper communion with God, who essentially lives within, and that's the song.
It's great.
Yeah,
I'm very, very happy with what you're doing. I think it's going to result in a lot of good fruit.
I really hope so, Dr. Toolin. The same thing for you. Looking forward to the publication of your work. And so would you like me to wrap this up now with a little blessing of some sort?
A prayer, please. Blessings.
Yes, okay. Yes, absolutely. Heavenly Father, I call down your blessing on Dr. Toolin and on her work, and also, Father, on all of our listeners. You know them all. You know each one of them by name. Father, at the beginning of this new year, I ask you, Father, to bless your children, to bless each and every one of them with your grace and with your peace. I ask you, Father, to make them one with you as you are one with them. I ask you, Father, to allow Dr. Toolin and all of her listeners to live more in Jesus risen from the dead than they live in this passing world. And I ask this in your name, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you for granting me this interview, and I hope that you'll get in touch with and you have another song, and we'll do another one.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Toolin. I certainly will do that.
Okay. You take care, Father.
Okay. We'll see you now. Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Hello, God's beloved. I'm Annabelle Mosley, author, professor of theology, and host of Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. I invite you to listen in and find inspiration along this sacred journey we're traveling together to make our lives a masterpiece and, with God's grace, become saints. Join me, Annabelle Mosley, for Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. God bless you. Remember, you're never alone. God is always with you.
Thank you for listening to a production of WCAT Radio. Please join us in our mission of evangelization. And don't forget, love lifts up when knowledge takes flight.